What's up, folks? This is Dan from Discern. And before I start this review, just a quick reminder. The Kickstarter campaign to fund another year of reviews just started earlier this week. Campaign to continue this type of content on the channel all the way through 2017. There's a link in the description below. I would be honored if you would check it out. I would be doubly honored if you would support me in helping me reach the funding goal. With that, let's get this started. These are my thoughts on the new album from the digital age, Galaxies. The Digital Age is a pop and electronically tinged worship group from Texas. They consist of 4 members of the David Crowder Band, which came to a close in 2012, which was when this group was formed. They have released a couple EPs, one full-length album, and a few Christmas singles over the years, and they just released the new album, Galaxies, last week. This group, The Digital Age, is one that, to me, is exciting on the outside, but very disappointing and unremarkable on the inside. The fact that these musicians come from the David Crowder Band is an exciting fact that draws my interest. My mind drifts off to many classic and memorable songs from David Crowder, and my nostalgic remembrance of past musical influences, or of the past, I should say, influences my present-day thoughts about this band. I'm excited to hear new music from them because, I know where they've been, I know what they've been a part of. But since this group has started, my hope and joy and expectations for them to rise to some semblance of the great or even the good albums from the David Crowder Band has been stifled and squashed with every new release. Their music has proved that they are not the David Crowder Band, and I mean that to their detriment, in the sense that they haven't kept the flame burning from the music they used to make, kept something similar going. And they also haven't stepped out of David Crowder's shadow with their own sound, being appealing on their own merits. Sadly, they've exposed the absolute linchpin that David Crowder was to their sound. And when you compare his work in the past to the more present work of the Digital Age, especially looking at something like David Crowder's greatest hits, in a sense, it's apparent that he was a better songwriter, he was a better lyricist, a better producer, a better vocalist. I mean, not necessarily of his own choosing, since David Crowder had just an unmistakable voice that gives his vocals a character and definition all their own. But all that being said, let's let this album stand for itself, apart from the musical past of the artists who created it. Let's try to take it for what it is. Firstly, let's talk about the theme. The goal seems to have been to create an album that takes you on a journey, like a rocket ship launching into space, to explore and discover the endless worth and glory of God, as if you're endlessly touring the galaxies. And there are 4 interlude-type songs that are spaced out through the track listing, which, when putting their titles together, form the sentence, "I can see it's coming from a great distance, everything is bright, and I cannot look away." And these interludes are drifting, ethereal, and ambient pieces with some space station chatter, electronic beeps, and static noise spliced in the mix. Sort of, trying to weave the thread of space exploration throughout the album. While I think the interludes are consistent and uniform in their intent and execution, the moods of those tracks and the theme they carry don't translate to the other songs, not really by a long shot. On a musical front, looking at the whole of the album, I think they missed the mark in trying to emulate a broad and glorious galaxy-level experience. There just isn't much brightness that you can't look away from here. This musical galaxy isn't nearly as deep or expansive as a galaxy should be, and it's remarkable to me how unremarkable these songs are. I mean, with a few momentary exceptions, they aren't memorable, they aren't interesting. The songwriting of each track is just too cookie cutter, like they come in CCM, from chord structures to the dynamics to the vocal melodies. And I wish I could say that their electronic pop style gave them a signature feel and impression, But that's just not the case. They may dabble with some interesting tones and feature some sounds that stand out more colorfully or distinctly, but they tend to use these sounds in the most drab and typical ways. You see this with the synth tone on How Sweet It Is, which has some promise at the beginning, but doesn't really do anything of note throughout the track. Same thing with the song Galaxies. A peppy synth lead kicks it off, but it plays more of a textural role than a lead, and it ends up feeling like ordinary furniture rather than a signature centerpiece. And the track Kingdom Come has a guitar lead in the intro of the song that drips of Hillsong influence, but that sound and instrument gets mostly buried everywhere else but the interludes, and when it does come back, it's just playing that textural role again, mildly picking through the chords. Now, there are a few tracks where an acoustic guitar or piano take the central lead for most of the song, differing from the typical electropop feel. And the best of these two tracks are actually back-to-back. The track Awake Sleeper, which is a chilly piano-led song that builds with escalating dynamics, and the track People of the Cross, which is the only song to feature an acoustic guitar as prominently as it is here. The recording feels more roomy and authentic, sort of like a room mic feel, rather than up close and manufactured. It's the least digital the digital age gets on this album. And, while I enjoyed these two songs more than the others, I don't think they really fit with the context, though. I mean, they're cut from a different cloth, a cloth I think I would enjoy more of, but that's not really what the rest of the album was wearing. On the lyrical side of this album's theme, taking this galactic level journey into the character of God, I think they missed the mark here too. I don't think they lived up to the album's intent or explored God or Christ in a very valuable or meaningful way. The magnitude of the glory of Christ that could have been explored was narrowly pictured, like looking through a telescope, just seeing a piece of the glorious array. I mean, firstly, the songs are mostly about our relationship with God, the feelings involved, the implications, the struggles, hopes, and desires for that relationship. This is not, a unique theme to modern worship music. And if you've watched this channel for a while, you probably know I'm not really a fan of that. But let's look at how it plays out on the album. This relationship focus takes a couple different manifestations, focusing on me, focusing on us, or focusing on the feelings and emotions coming from God. So His love, His grace, His kindness. Some of the songs that focus on us are One Pursuit, Undivided, Kingdom Come, and Heroes, which is ridiculously self-focused to the point of absurdity, calling ourselves heroes. I mean, at its best, it's a mishandling of the "we're more than conquerors through Christ" statement from Romans 8:37. Or at its worst, it's a Christian millennial power anthem, just all about us. We're the real heroes. Oh, and before I forget, the rap section in that track is the most unnecessary addition to the entire album. I mean, what a goofy moment and just out of step, out of left field, basically. Anyway, back to the lyrics. Songs that focus on us, mentioned that. Songs that focus on the feelings and emotions from God to us are songs like I Belong, If I Have You, and People of the Cross. These songs, as well as the songs more about us, about our emotions, they all just feel like misfired arrows as they draw our attention to the connection we have to God. They draw us to our attention or our relationship with Him, how that makes us feel, and they blow past the deep exploration into the character of God and the gospel of His Son that is the foundation for that relationship in the first place. And if this album was meant to showcase God, to take the listener on a journey of discovery into God and the saving work of Jesus, then I wish these songs would have taken a cue from hymns of old and focused on God Himself, focused on the life and death of Jesus, focused on the gospel message rather than just the implications of those realities. The realities are glorious already. They're worthy of galactic exploration and deep saturation. Now, the last point I want to make on the lyrics in terms of the theme of this album relates to the following verse from Scripture. In John 17:1, when Jesus is praying on the precipice of his arrest and crucifixion, I mean, that starts in the very next chapter of John, he says, "Father, the hour has come. Glorify the Son, that the Father may glorify you." Jesus is saying that his crucifixion is a moment of great glorification of God, glorification of the Father through the glorification of the Son. And as you see the greater context of the Bible, the promises of the Messiah in the Old Testament, the fulfillment of those promises in Christ, and the redemptive and atoning work that he accomplished at the cross, you see that the cross is the apex of the glory of God. I mean, God is most glorified through the work of his Son, Jesus, and Jesus is most glorified through the cross. And my point in this is that this album was meant to explore this glory, blast you off into space, take you on a memorable journey into the bright glory of God. But the message of the cross, the brilliant height of that glory, was more implied than explored. There were tacit references to it, lyrics about God's love, grace, mercy, faithfulness, characteristics that were displayed through Christ's atoning work on the cross. But there weren't thoughtful reflections or explorations of it on this album. And for a worship album to have the intent of exploring the glory and majesty of God and to only implicitly speak about the cross, the pinnacle of his glory, I mean, to barely even steer the ship toward that bright shining star, that's certainly missing the mark. So there are links below this video to hear this album for yourself. There's also a link to the Digital Escapes Twitter in case you're interested. All right, folks, let's wrap it up here. Thank you for watching this album review. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. New album reviews just like this release every Friday, and new track reviews release every Wednesday. If you have a question or a comment for me about this album, or my thoughts about this album, or about something else, you can comment below this video. You could tweet at me at discernreviews, or you can send me an email, discernreviews@gmail.com. And please, before you go, check out the Kickstarter campaign at the link below. There are some great rewards and opportunities there. Hopefully you find something that interests you. I would greatly appreciate your support. So thank you again for watching this video. Hope this helps. See ya.